Jonathan Majors is innocent. The chauffeur testified. I'm sorry. Oh, let me be more dramatic. After Friday, the weekend we left off on Jonathan Majors' text messages, which, as headlines alluded to, Jonathan appears to admit physically assaulting Stephanie. You see, there was a head injury. In these heavily redacted text messages, where a lot of what she was saying was redacted, he says not to go to the doctor. What could happen? He's saying everything that we're experiencing for the last 8 months would happen if they investigated what caused her head injury. Now, while she's on the stand and they're trying to make Jonathan look bad, does the prosecution, along with Steph, ask, so what was the cause of the head injury? Not once. What that appears to allude to is them admitting that Jonathan didn't have anything to do with it. In fact, it was some sort of consensual sexual intercourse, or let our imaginations fly. Maybe something illegal was happening that if she revealed what happened to her head, it would cause the questions, which would then be investigated. This all happened in September of 2022, by the way. This wasn't about this case that's currently happening today. You know what is happening currently today about this case that happened on Friday? The cops took the stand. Officer Brendan Swain, and he ratted out on his own people, this turncoat. Blue Lives Matter, he said, no, me not going to jail matters. But who cares? You falsified some of that document. You said that there was a scar behind her right eye. Now, if that's a typo, he could have corrected it, right? But he said he left it in there, kept it there. It was an official document. So this liar, while he's taking the stand and videos being played of the police body camera. Do you remember the police worn camera footage? We actually saw a still shot from her right here. Doesn't she look like I fuck with savages?
You a fuck boy, you can't hang. You can find me posted up on Frank Block with my fucking gang.
Yeah, you can find Stephanie on Frank Block, yeah. And to keep with the 2015 rap theme, Bobby Shmurda, what did Jonathan say?
And if you ain't a hoe, get up on my trap house.
That's it, end of relationship. After today, they're not going to see each other again. No matter what she tries to say. Young Ma, what was she trying to say, Young Ma?
My haters spend a lot of time with me on their best friend.
Absolutely, my girl was psycho.
But that shit chick, then why she texting me?
No, she's not my girl. And the video clip portion of this is over, Young Ma.
Why she keep calling my phone, speaking sexually? Every time I'm out, why she stressing me?
I don't care about your relationship with Stephanie.
You call her Stephanie? I call her Heffany. I don't open doors for her.
So Officer Swain snitches on his sergeant for trying to get the strangulation charge. Those text messages that we saw back in March when people said, that's what an abuse victim would say. They would say that you weren't actually strangling me, and they would try to defend it. Well, it turns out that it was exactly the case. There was no strangulation at all. Stephanie would say this also, that what happened wasn't strangulation. The cop says it to about another cop, and now we got ramifications coming for that. There will be another trial. There will be another trial against the DA also. We can close that now, right? I'm going to close it. Boop. It's closed. Today, Chloe, our girl Chloe took the stand.
I don't want to leave you because we're about to get in our car.
Chloe was just a nice friend. Says, I never spoke to Steph after March 25. Max took the stand also with the white cap, Texas Longhorn. Really quick time. Came in, came out. They both were talking about how they didn't notice any injuries on her. She was bleeding from the ear, right? No, not at all. There's also a doctor who showed up and says that there was no face injuries. He says what we know him to saying about the ear, about the finger. On cross-examination, he said the injury to her finger was inconsistent with having been caused by someone twisting her finger. She tried really hard on this article. Actually, when the driver, Naveed Sarwar, she got the name right at least, when he was asked a couple times about her hitting him, you would be led to believe that Stephanie didn't admit to that a couple days ago. But this is what happened. Was she seen hitting the defendant? Sarwar, who said he was looking straight ahead and describing interactions only as they sounded to him, said, many things were happening. I had the feeling the girl had hit the boy. On several occasions throughout the driver's testimony, the judge reminded him, you can only testify to what is happening, not what you think happened. Okay, that's all a setup for what we're about to get. Reviewing the video surveillance footage of the couple's hired Cadillac parked on the canal and center seat. So that would be the footage from outside, not from inside the cab. Sarwar, speaking through his interpreter, said that at one point he had stopped the car and Jonathan had gotten out. He was trying to get rid of her. Please keep your opinions to yourself. You see that? He was trying to get rid of her is an opinion. And much like earlier when he was saying it sounded like he hit her, all that stuff. what he says afterwards is confirmation. Nah, fam, this is not opinion. He was trying to get rid of her, Sarwar repeated, to laughs from the rows of Major's supporters seated behind him. That makes it sound like nobody else laughed. While it may be true that they laughed, did the jury laugh also? Did anyone else in the room who wasn't a supporter of Jonathan Major's family laugh? Let's ask somebody from the courtroom. Danny Does Law, who was inside the room, says, "Yup, and laugh we did. My guy was adamant, yet as cool as a cucumber. They didn't object, so fair game, girlie." I followed up and asked her about who was laughing. She tells me we all snickered, but not too extra because we weren't even supposed to do that much. I'm surprised we didn't get yelled at. I said, "The jury too?" But dude was hella funny. She said, "No, not really. The jury, not really." So I'll take that as a no. I don't want to stretch and say they laughed. I asked her if I could screenshot. She said yes to me. She said sure. Now she says, like they were trying to understand the whole interpretation thing because unfortunately, as we had hoped, the driver never spoke English. He answered in Urdu with very little exception. He can speak English, but he answered in Urdu with that very little exception. And the interpreter had a hard time understanding certain names and places, so they had to repeat a few things. Meaning it was ineffective messaging. What we want, what would be the best case scenario, is for him to say with the language that the jury understand, he was trying to get rid of her. Jonathan Majors did nothing. I didn't see Jonathan take a strike at her. Jonathan was a victim of her aggression. Like, he can say these things. He knows the word for attack, for punch. He can say these things to Psycho Girl, who, by the way, the DA met with earlier, and they had to disclose that over some Freedom of Information Act or some pact or some word like that. Okay. Last thing from People Magazine, and I do mean last thing. He was saying, "Leave me alone. I have to go." He was not doing anything, Naveed Sarwar said shortly after. She was doing everything. Into which I created a TikTok short, which I hope goes viral. Boost that, thumbs it up, and comment on it, because it's funny. Emily Palmer adds more spin that Sarwar also noted Majors was trying to throw her in the car. So that's effective to us readers because we didn't see the video of her getting her inside the car, which was evident and plain as day and clear and doesn't need to be heard. But when you read trying to throw her in the car, it could lead to an imaginative abuser. When Stephanie had attempted to follow him out of the vehicle, he was trying to push her into the car, and that the couple had eventually both left on foot. She says on foot. Yeah, I mean, running is on foot. Emily Palmer. Emily. Fuck out of here, Emily. It's as simple as that. Hey, sing her out, Stephanie.
I feel like singing a song. Everybody join me. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Woo!
Hey, hey, hey. Goodbye. Today was the day in court, which was the most necessary day for the court because Jonathan spoke. He says not guilty in his verdict. Stephanie spoke. It took her 4 days of testimony, but we got her side of the story. His side, her side. And then there was the truth. And when Naveed Sarwar took that stand, he said in Urdu, via translation, that Jonathan didn't do anything. I want you with a brain, with fingers, and with one of these puppies to vocalize that, share that as much as it needs to be shared. Like all of the memes, comment on people, engage with other YouTube videos who are not Team Stephanie, McMahon Helmsley III, and spread the word. Do what they were doing about the strangulation back in March 25 when Jonathan was arrested, which we know was bogus, and spread the truth, the real information. Shout out to Danny. I'm gonna speak with Danny about what happened today. Danielle and I will probably will chat. I don't know. I don't want to put a date on it, but I know she said she would chat with me, and we'll get that out there on my little 4,000 subscriber platform, which is doing numbers thanks to this case, and that's a lot thanks to you. Again, what did I just say? Engage, comment, like, and all of a sudden this video gets recommended to more people if you like the messaging that's coming out of here. And that doesn't just mean me. It means everyone else who's positively covering this and is anti-white supremacy, as this YouTube channel is very anti-white supremacy. No, that's not it. In Portuguese, they call it supremacia branca. I'm not for that. No. In Portuguese, they also say no. It's the same word. No. I'm out. I lied. I'm not out. Danny Does Law. I spoke with her twice, and she's sitting in the gallery in the courtroom, not reporting like people of color are. On the left is the first time I spoke with her. On the right is the second time I spoke with her over the weekend. If you watch these 2 hours and a half, you'll be up to speed on the things you need to know that you're not receiving. Peace. Free Palestine.